Welcome to Empathy Corner, Conversations with Toad Counselling. I'm your host Tony Matthews and I am joined by Liam Smith today. In today's episode we will be talking about depression and anxiety and the impact it can have on our lives. Liam, we've known each other for, I'd probably say...
a long time.
12, 13?
Yeah. I think when we've known each other actually personally 10 years, but when we bumped into each other in the military, 12, 13 years.
Yeah, I remember because we were both injured and jumping on phys recovery.
Physiotherapy.
That's where we got to know each other.
Yeah.
And then
outside, I guess, for the job, 10 years.
Yeah. Can you give us a little bit of an outline as to coming out of the military, obviously, and any impact that depression and or anxiety has had since we were in the military?
Yeah. So I obviously, for the listener, to have a bit more background about myself. So obviously I joined the military, as you know, at 16, quite a young age. And that was where I was born in Swansea at the time. Initially, I was born and bred in Swansea. Didn't really, kind of normal kid, didn't get on well at school. Undiagnosed at the time, which I wish I knew now then, was dyslexia. Massively bad with dyslexia. Struggled at school. Was always in the naughty class. I had a lot going on at home, which I think does reflect in the reasons why I am the way I am now.
Yeah.
So my mum was an alcoholic, bless her. Didn't know that again at the time. You just see it as a kid and you don't notice what that is, and recognise it. So maybe that's had a lot of impact on my mental state, the way I act to things.
So you say you are the way you are now. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, well, the way I am now and who I am, as a kid, do I remember a lot of my childhood? No, it's been a blank, some of it, and maybe that's because of childhood trauma.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of happen to me as a child. Mum was an alcoholic. My dad left us very early because he had another kid with someone. Same year I was born. That conflicted with my mum, and I think that's obviously why the way she was, because she had love with him and no one else. Never it was a bit of a sad love story. Never found anyone else again after that.
Your mum didn't?
No, she was always jumping from fella blokes and women. So I was confused as a child. I didn't know enough. And she tried to hold on to jobs. She always did right by me, but she had that vice of drink, I'm afraid. And then I think that sort of maybe led me to the military, because when I did go into the naughty class in school, they sent us to college, which like a 3-day-a-week thing where the military people came in, or the reservists came in, and they explained about the military and how it's a brotherhood and everything like that. And I think that appealed to me because I didn't have that function at home.
Was that your first experience?
Yeah, first experience of
military.
And I looked at these guys and I thought, they're fit. And at the time I was quite overweight, and I was like, I want to do this, and it inspired me to sort of always go that way. So that's what happened, and that's where it all started from. They planted the seed. So then when I was 16, I was able to join, get fit, got fit for it, and then run off to the military, I think because of the home life, if that makes sense.
Kind of like an escape.
Yeah, maybe it was. Yeah, I didn't see that then as an escape, but the military appealed to me so much. Yeah. And yes, my mum was proud of me, and my dad was. But there's just a lot of childhood trauma now. I see, like ACEs, I think they call it, don't they? Adverse childhood experiences. So I only know that now because of the police. So long and short of it, joined the military at 16. Yeah. Got into that, did my Afghan tour. Got medically downgraded because of my hip injuries, undiagnosed again.
So what happened?
So it's just with all the impact work running around, also the tour of Afghan, and weight bearing, I'm guessing, and jumping in and out of vehicles, I started getting impingement on my knee, and they ended up flying me back from Afghanistan and scanned my whole lower body and found out that I had got 2 hip, my right hip was not normal shape, it hasn't formed properly.
Yeah.
It's like a stumpy sort of hip, if that makes sense, instead of a long one, like they explain, a long neck, and then the ball. It's a stumpy, just a little stumpy hip. But my left one's fine, if that makes sense. But it's just not. It wasn't had some spurs on it. Yeah. Like sort of like your knuckle. Okay. And they had to reshape both hips and then put them back in. So that's what I had done. And then obviously after that, got back on the horse, started getting all promotions, and ended up doing 14 years in the military in the Royal Logistic Corps. And the latter of my year, and I guess why you were here is why I started getting depression, I guess, is because I wanted more out of the military. Yeah. I joined the military to do the Royal Marines, that's why I went to Chibnall. And I wanted to do the Commander course, Army Commander course. Yeah. But then ultimately, after leaving Afghanistan, I wanted to be a Marine. But that would never happen with what I had done with my hips, because it was just not advised by the doctors. Yeah. And I think that's when it all started stemming to reality check is the military for me? Was I in it just for the family life, the promotion, the money, the wage, and I was in it for the wrong reasons? Yeah. And this is when I think my mental health started going downhill, because I couldn't do what I wanted to do. I couldn't do the Marines because I wanted to transfer into that after seeing what they did in Afghanistan. Yeah. I couldn't go SBS or anything. Any of them ambitions were shot. Does that make sense? Yeah. And that really affected me, I think. And on my last year post to Cirencester 11 EOD Regiment Bomb Disposal lads is where I didn't enjoy the job because I was in it for the wrong reasons, like I was saying. And I struggled with the promotion of a sergeant, trying to do something that I didn't enjoy. Yeah. And even my Captain Sip, or Powers, Captain Powers, his name was, he's ex-Marine, lovely guy. He was really trying to help me there, and he was really helping me, and he was trying to get me into a transfer into something that I enjoyed, but he happened to leave on promotion, and that's when I went pop, if that makes sense. Yeah. I have that transition with someone else, and I went sick for a year, and that's when I really spiraled in what am I doing with my life, who am I, what's the future if I do leave the military, so many questions, and that's when that's when I seriously had mental health then. Yeah. For that year being off. So not knowing what to do.
So with that, during that difficult time and period, obviously struggling with depression. How did you find opening up to people? Was it,
Yeah, I didn't want to recognise it. That's the problem, I think. Okay. With the professionals, I'd open up with it, but I think it was a case of they just didn't understand. I think the military, being the military, and you know what the military's like, is he fit for purpose? Does that make sense? Yeah. Was I fit to do my job? And with the hips, they obviously decided that I wasn't. Yeah. And they did the right thing. They put me on therapy and courses, and I was like, yeah, I'm fine. But I wasn't actually fine. And when I say that, my missus at the time, and I haven't said that, by this time, I met Tess and I had kids. Yeah. So I had Geffin and Sarah, and newborn then. Sarah was only just newborn. Geffin was about 7, 8. And Sarah's a newborn, so 1 year old nearly. And in the married quarters, got this all comfortable life, but actually I was in turmoil underneath because I didn't know what to expect outside. Yeah. What my future was. I'd known the military since I was 16. I was now about late 20s at the end later, probably coming out 2016. So it's really panicky phase.
Must have been quite worrying.
Yeah, massively worrying, because you've got that salary in the military, security. You've got that lovely life, which you don't realise at the time. There's that bubble of safety. Yeah. When you get out, you do not have that bubble of safety. No. That guaranteed paycheck, that guaranteed someone's going to come around and fix your pipe, that guaranteed. Yeah. Oh, you can move out of that house and move to another quarters. You just don't notice if you've been in the military from such a young age what the reality of life is like out in Civvy Street. Yeah. And I think that was the biggest worry for me.
With the anxiety, how did you manage that while you were still in?
I don't think I did. I was crying, up, down, trying to exercise, but it just wasn't myself, I think, because of the so many big questions of what to do.
Yeah.
I think ultimately, yes, I was getting the support from the militaries and lead courses when you leave, you know, the tick box stuff that they have to do.
Yeah.
Which is grateful, you know, they give me money to get my construction ticket, you know, the CPCS card, got my digger ticket and all that out of them, which is really good. And I will shout out to, you know, where Claire, one of the lassies who used to, they were sort of like trying to ease you into civilian life when you get out.
I remember.
She was there to sort of help us, and she really said, you know, put reality check on it. She wasn't blind to the fact that you're going to struggle, wasn't.
Yeah.
She'd tell you that, but she was always there on a phone call, and that's when I really found you. Actually, to be fair, that's
me.
You called you and said, Tony, you're out now. What you're doing, and you talked about the therapy side of life, and that you was interested in it. You weren't doing any of this. You was doing all your certificates, I guess, for all that time.
Long time ago now.
Yeah. So you were just starting off. So I had you, Claire. I had a lot of ex-military friends on Messenger that would speak to me, you know. And really like Rob French. He's ex-Marine. Yeah. This guy came out of nowhere, bless him, in my life at the time I needed it, and literally just grabbed me and said, mate, let's go for a swim, let's have a check on life, and literally most probably saved me mentally from doing anything stupid as in suicide, because I think at that point in my life I was really struggling with what to do.
I remember how low you were.
Yeah, because when I paint a picture, we got obviously the notice to say, right, you're out this time next year.
Yeah.
Bought a house, put the deposit that the military give me down on that house, which I think about 50 grand they used, you know, give you for signing off. And that's all I had. So I have this 50 grand, and what's 50 grand, no offence, and it's great, but in reality of life, that was just a bit, my deposit on the house, pay off bills, cars, this, and it dwindles down quite quick. And if I'd say to anyone is, if you're in the military and you're thinking of getting out, is definitely think of the long term and what's going to happen when you leave, because you need that safety net of something there for you and your family. So, and I didn't have that, so I was rushing in all this last minute. We'll buy a house, right? We bought a house. What's next? Find a job. I'm trying to find a job, and it seems to be when you're trying to find that job doesn't come. You know, dropped off 100 CVs. I think you helped me with my CVs at some point.
Yeah, I remember. I think I rewrote your CV.
Rewrote my CV. yeah. So all this has happened at once, and my head at the time went kaput. I think the very, very, very point where it did really explode, and I had to think about myself and not anyone else, is when I got my last job, the jobs I was jumping from, the construction, anything, delivery driver.
Yeah, I remember.
I went down to Exeter, and I had a job with my sister-in-law. I was partner at the time, and he wasn't the nicest, shall I say, I'll just keep it like that.
Yeah.
And we had a confrontation between an argument between me and him on how he was speaking to her whilst I was in work with them, because they were working together, and that's when I popped at him. Yeah. I popped, and that had a knock-on effect, and with me losing my job, Tess splitting up with me, because that was, and this is no slow on again for the listener, I've just jumped about 10 jobs in about 2 months, so she just couldn't. Yeah. She said, Liam, you need to really focus on you. She did it as I think she saw what was happening. She said, you need to focus on yourself, get your head together, think about what's happening, kids, family, and she was always there for me. Yeah. But she just stayed at Chivner, the old barracks where I was. Yeah. Was able to get a bit of rental there, and feed me, water me from the house, all that sort of stuff. But it was more of a sort yourself out. So and that's when you came in massively then.
Yeah, and at this point, you guys were together but not together.
Not together, yeah.
And that was due to the impact of how everything was
just bottled up. Yeah, that
building
bucket of water's definitely overflowing. By this point, it was gushing out everywhere because I just couldn't. In my head, I just couldn't get on with people in the civilian world, and that's and that sounds brutal, but I just couldn't get on with some people's way of thinking. And how they worked.
It's a completely different way of thinking. It's a different way of life.
For example, one job I was at, I think I was working as a delivery driver. Oh mate, that's your rubbish. You're gonna pick that up. Well, it's not my job. That's to clean this. You know, no, it's your rubbish. Clean it up. I couldn't get on with that. I'd end up in petty arguments in all these jobs that I had, nearly having a fight over nothing. This is where I got sacked in a lot of the jobs when I got up.
That argumentative attitude.
Yeah, I think it's not. I think it was just the fact that people just the morals. We got a code. I think when we live and breathe the military. And discipline and most of us have. And when you come out and other people don't have the same views as you do, I think it's a struggle, isn't it?
It can be.
Because you expect it to be like that, but it's not.
During this period, Tess, she's staying at Chivner. You're staying in the house that you've bought.
In Barnstable.
Yeah. When it comes to the depression and the anxiety, were there feelings of loneliness? And, isolation.
All of that.
Sort of
and again, Tess was my rock. She was still there. She was still coming around. I was calling her, and we've been together since 2000. Gotta get this right now. 2008. So she's all I knew, plus the kids. I loved them, but I think I was doing everything. Right, I need to do it for them. I need to do this for that. I need to do this for that. And actually, I wasn't doing anything for myself. Does that make sense? And she recognised that. She recognised that.
And that's one of the biggest issues around depression and anxiety is that you sometimes look to avoid how you're feeling and the things that are going on in your life because all you want to do is take care of everyone else, make sure everyone else is okay. But then, with that going on, how do you take care of someone else if you're not able to take care of yourself?
Yeah, and that was the key. I think she's seen that. Rob French, he's seen that. Mate, you need to do stuff for yourself. You need to go swim in cold water, plunging yourself in the water. Loads and loads of people like yourself as well said it. You got to look after yourself. But you just don't see it at the time. I was getting rashes for no reason all over my body. Whether that's through chemical imbalance, I don't know. But it's just
stress can have a massive impact on the body, especially if you've got nowhere to let it out. You need people to talk to. You need to do things for yourself, exercise, eat right, take care of yourself, sleep pattern. That's quite a big thing as well. If you have too much sleep or not enough sleep, it all has an impact.
Yeah, and it did. And this is when it really that year, 2, 3, 4 years, I think, in the end of it, was my whole period of going through this absolutely imbalanced to myself, and at the end of it, suicidal, losing weight, all these things, crying in a fetal position on the floor in the kitchen. Tess supporting me, not knowing what to do. It was just horrible. But if it wasn't, and I stress it so much, if it wasn't for people like you, Claire, Rob French, I don't know where I would be today. Sip Powers, Lloydie, this ex-staff sergeant, who was at 11 AD, but he knew me from there, knew I was struggling. Where would I be today? I don't know. I'm not sure he's dead, to be frank.
Everything's turned out much differently than you expected.
I didn't see it then, and maybe I think with the attitude from you and all the other people that I've mentioned of going forward, I then started to get this: is life that bad? Where am I? If I lose a job, does it matter? No. What matters is I just get the bare minimum and keep moving forward, and that's what I did basically. and it clicked eventually, and it was a struggle. I got help through Help for Heroes. They were quite good with the choir. I joined the choir in that.
Yeah.
Started doing some singing, which I really love to do.
I remember. And poetry as well.
Poetry, led on to the poetry, and that really helped as an outlet. And I've started. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't have ever done my first poem, which won a competition that I did, and then I've done loads off the back of that, which I still do now.
I think you doing your poetry was what inspired me to crack on and continue with mine that I'd done or started years and years ago when I first started with university.
Yeah, and it's an outlet, isn't it?
It is.
Of what you're thinking in your head and all these little voices, because you do have that voice in your head that says you are crap, you're not doing right. But if you do not challenge that voice, you will keep listening to it. And I think that's what you got to do. You just got to challenge it and say, no, I'm not. Talk to it. If you have to, talk back to it and say, I am not crap. I am good. I am going to get up, and I am going to open the curtains, and I am going to go for a walk today, and I am going to write a poem. Or you got to keep challenging that voice. I'm afraid.
So with all this going on, you've still got responsibilities for keeping the house running, and there's struggles with jobs there. You've still got your kids in your life. You've still got Tess in your life. Even though you're estranged a little bit because of what's going on, and how do you manage that? How do you process all of that and get on with?
I guess
living.
It sounds absolutely foreign, doesn't it? If somebody was like looking into that life setup at the time, they would have been like, "Oh, what's going on with you two? What, you're not together, but you are together." It was needed at the time, and it did eventually push me to do what I needed to do and look into myself and think, how am I going to move forward here? With the help of all the people that I've mentioned, yourself. It just sort of started coming right. I can't say how or exactly why, but it was just doing the little things that people told me to do. Get up, get moving, keep going, and that's all I did. I literally did that. Just get up, open the curtains, don't sleep in. Because there was points that I didn't have a job. But I think when it did sort of start coming right is when with the COVID, just before COVID, funny enough, which was like a massive blessing, because I think if I had that on top of what I had, maybe that would have been the end of my mental health, because I wouldn't have been able to cope with that on top as well.
I remember you, and because I live in Bideford, so it's a little bit of a trek to get to Barnstable at that time of the morning with my home responsibilities, but you were getting up in the morning.
That was right.
Long
walks, early hours. 5:30 up to a point, or maybe earlier.
Just to get that exercise going. Those endorphins firing.
That was right. Met other people on Facebook.
I remember.
Tried to do that, and just go out and walk and talk, and just share the experience of what we were going through. And then I was able to seal a job at the NHS. As a pharmacist assistant.
I remember that. I remember doing the CV for that as well.
Exactly, that's it. So again, if it weren't for your help and other friends who
you were there for a little while as well.
Yeah, that was a whole year.
Yeah.
And I think in my head is what I said to myself is, if I just hold this job down for 1 year, that was the goal. 1 year. It would be good for me. Does that make sense? Just hold it for a year. With all the other jobs that
because you hadn't been able to do that.
Exactly that. And that's what I made to myself. Hold this job down for 1 year. Work on myself, and that is it. Keep it simple. And that's what I did. Keep it simple, stupid. I just turned up to that job every day. Tried to smart, and I did have breakdowns in that job still. And this is the funniest thing about that job is that fate does take a hand in it. The manager at the time was the person doing the interview. Her fella was ex-military. she realised I had probably a bit of mental health. I'll be honest. But she liked me as a person. In the interview, I actually failed on the first time round, and she said, "You were second to getting the job."
Yeah.
I'm sorry to tell you that. And obviously, I cried at this point. I cried when I heard that. Cried. I thought, this is it. I ain't got a job. I'm going to lose my house. Went to benefits, tried to get money.
Yeah.
They ironically said, we can give you 300 quid, but you got to pay us back £20 a month. Which I thought, what good is that? So yeah, this stage, just before I got this job at the hospital, was critical to me, and Tess and everyone around me. A couple of days later, she rang back saying, by the way, the other person hasn't turned up, they haven't even seen them. Do you want the job? I was like, snapped out. Yeah. And the gods that be I played a hand in that, because I think if I didn't have that job, who knows where I would be right now. But yeah,
I remember the phone call coming
through
saying that
I got it, and that was it. Once I got it, I started working on myself. And yeah, I did have bad days there. And I think it's again stemming from the military, and only knowing the military. If I didn't like it in that job, or I'd try and find something to fight against it, and I was just always up and down for a couple of months in that job. Yeah. Nearly walked away from it, but I didn't. And I think that's the main thing. I just didn't. And the people, to be fair, and I think it's because of the people I was around there, NHS mindset, caring, loving, understood everything. If I had a bad day, they'd tap me on the shoulder. Yeah. Do you want a break? Do you want to go? So they knew my whole background. You know what I'm like? I talk, I chat, and I told everyone. I think that's the main thing. Talk. If you've got any mental health, talk to anyone.
And that's one of the things that you realise through this entire experience is being able to share and offload a lot of things that you were going through with people that were there to
comfort you. To not understand. When I say talk with anyone, I mean those that you want to confide in. But be honest and tell your managers, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your sister, brother, whoever it is, so people are aware of your mental state, because you can look like the happiest person on the outside, and some days I was singing, dancing, and then a couple of days later something could trigger something. Yeah, definitely. But people are aware of that. Yeah. So at the NHS, got the job at the hospital, and that kept me sound for a year, and that's when I started to then apply for what I am now, and that's the police. And again, I fixed my sights on that. I thought, right, I've got this job at the NHS. I'm getting better. The police actually had a caveat of 6 months of mental health clear. Yeah. So that was another push for me to be like, right, let's get that.
I remember the process.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you know that. You know that as well. Yes.
The excitement came through with that phone call.
Yeah.
That you were going to try for the police. And,
and you were very great to support me with that. And again, amongst others, Rob French, Claire. Everyone that I in my phone book who I can speak to, Samson Murray, he's another guy, he helped me on Messenger. There's so many people that I'm so glad to be sat here talking to you a bit on record, so I hope they can hear me say thank you resoundingly for what you've done, all of you, because if it wasn't for a lot of you today, I don't think I'd be here, mate. And it is emotional.
The one thing I do remember about that whole process of you joining the police was getting that phone call about a tattoo.
Yeah.
They told you that you wouldn't be able to carry on through the process if you didn't sort out that tattoo.
Yeah. So, and that is an absolute hilarious story, because I tell everyone to this day how you sorted me out with the lastminute.com tattoo to get
on the fly,
on the fly. So just again for the listeners who's not actually you got to picture it, I guess, is that I had a Welsh dragon tattoo on my right arm, didn't I? With Mooney in with his pants down and his bum out. So you gotta have an imagination what that looked like. But if it worked for your lastminute.com being able to square away a tattoo for me, typical military, call at 3 a.m. I need a tattoo doing. Can you do it? Yes, I know someone. Yeah, you did that. And I have a tattoo covered, but the deal was by the police is that if I didn't get that tattoo covered, I wouldn't have the job basically.
No.
Or it would be reviewed in about a year's, next year I think it was at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think this came November time, was it? Or something like that.
Something like that. It was towards the end of the year.
Yeah, and it wouldn't get reviewed to the year after when they start recruiting again. Which I wish they could have told me a bit sooner than the weekend.
Yeah, it was a bit of a bombshell drop, for sure.
Friday, you need to get this sorted, or you got till Sunday to get a tattoo covered up.
So, with that, how did you feel?
Again, yeah. So obviously NHS doing great, got that job that squared me away. I was on the up, got the police. And I had this goal of I'm going to get into it. I was nearly there. And then I get the bombshell of the tattoo, and I was just like, oh my god, you're telling me on a Friday that I need this tattoo cover up?
Yeah.
I gotta get it done. I gotta get it sorted. I need it. I want this job. I need this job. Because it appealed to me so much.
So what was running through your mind when that call came through, or the message came through that this needed to be done, or you essentially can't be a police officer?
Well, I don't know if I've already mentioned it, is that I failed the initial online assignment with the police.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't, I think it was 3 months until I could retake it again. And I did that, and then I've been accepted. And then that was a rigmarole in itself, all the paperwork, the blood testing, so there's a lot to do to get into the background security checks. It's more than, I'd say, than the military. When you initially join, a lot of stuff, fitness test. And so I jumped all these hurdles and then been accepted, and they've stated you needed to get this tattoo cover up on a Friday.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's not happening. I was in bits, crying, asked Tess, I was upset, and I tell you now, to people that are listening, another thing is that I've never cried so much in that 4 year period.
I remember.
And it's not a bad thing, I don't think, because it's actually opened me up to being emotional and understanding people a lot more.
Yeah.
But if you do need to cry, do cry.
Let it out. There's no shame in it.
There's no shame in it. I'm 6'3", love rugby, all that sort of stuff. The ex-army, and people think crying if you've got a
big lefty tufty soldier.
Yeah, if you think you shouldn't cry, well that's wrong. Yeah, cry. Yeah. Get it out. It's like a storm. I think was it yourself who explained it to me, or someone has?
It's a cleansing moment.
Yeah, it's a cleansing moment. Big old storm coming in. The rain falls. And once it's gone, the sun comes out, doesn't it? And that's exactly what it's like when you cry. Get it out.
Yeah.
So emotional. Getting told that, but thanks to your skills and drills, you was able to get me a tattooist. Undisclosed. Not want to say where it was. But lastminute.com, and again thanks to him for free.
Yeah.
A couple of typical military, couple of bottles of whiskey. Here you go. Thanks for the tat.
Yeah. So, shout out to Gary Roberts.
Yeah, Gary Roberts.
Spread your way.
Yeah, but if it weren't for him, I wouldn't be in the police.
Not straight away. Anyway.
Not straight away. Anyway. Yeah.
So what about? Some people don't like the subject, but in regards to medication, did that ever come in?
I did try, and I would say to anyone, and Tess was great at this. She kept on saying, because she's a nurse. For those that don't know, obviously, I don't know if I mentioned it already.
Yeah, she was in the process of.
She was in the process. Yeah, so this is another thing about amongst all the mayhem of me. She's trying to do her studying, and that's not just an easy task, is it, on itself? Let alone having a fully grown man who's in an emotional turmoil with mental health and kids. So it was a big struggle for her as well. But she got me through it, and she always used to say, it's just like a bandage. If you had a cut on your arm, what would you do? You'd put a bandage on it. right? And so she said the same thing about the medication. If you got mental health, you take the medication to help what's going on in your brain. And I think in that plain, simple sort of way of thinking about it, it makes sense to me better than just thinking, oh, I'm not taking antidepressants. I'm not that type of person.
You don't want to be part of that group. Yeah.
When you hear it,
the stigma of it.
But I think the world is getting better at it, and I know many people that are on it, functioning in the job I do in the police now.
Yeah.
So I would say to anyone out there, if the doctor advises you to take sertraline, which was my one,
sure.
I don't know whether you know the list. I'm
sure. I'm aware of them.
Yeah, a bit better than I would. But any other ones that you need to take, do it.
You're not taking them now?
No, I'm not taking them now.
So for you, it was a short-term thing?
Short-term thing, maybe. I think more because I did try taking. I will be honest. I did try taking them. I took them for about 3 months. Tests on my back every day of the week. Take your tablet, take your tablet. But I did feel a bit sick and had headaches initially. But that is one of the side effects when you first start taking them.
Yeah.
And then
the side effects subside after a while.
So I did, and at the end of them 3-4 months, I think I did see myself more happier. But maybe in my head I was like, oh, it's because everything's going better as well. With the police and everything that I was doing. And plus, because I had that goal of the 6 months of wanting to be clear of anything, medication or therapy, etc. for the police, I sort of made myself better in the sense of doing exercise, going forward, having a positive attitude, because I had that goal again. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think if anything in life, and I've learned from people like yourself and books that I'm reading, is goal setting. You've got to have that goal.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And that goal setting helped me get to where I am today, I think.
Yeah, it gives you a small amount of purpose in regards to motivation and self-confidence and not doubting yourself and pushing forward.
So with the medication, done it, tried it, do it if you need it. Don't have the stigma about it.
Yeah.
Because it's there for a reason.
Well, you mentioned the therapy as well. What sort of therapy did you go through?
Well,
if you went through any?
Yeah, well, I did. Yeah, I tried therapy with a lady, and me and Tess. We did go there. It was more. It seemed more like a couples, but it wasn't. If that makes sense, it wasn't about couples.
Yeah.
Therapy as in our relationship. It was how to talk about mental health.
Okay.
As a couple, and it was sort of like not falling on deaf ears, but Tess knew a lot about that already with the job that she was doing.
Yeah. And
I, at the time when we had that, this was a little bit before I was going well, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think I had a job at the quarry then, one of my many jobs.
Yeah. I remember that one.
Yeah. We had about 6 sessions with a therapist locally.
Yeah.
Not as good as you, obviously. But it was okay. What I'll say is, I think I maybe had it at the wrong time then. I was still in a bit of a, I don't need this.
Yeah.
I don't need tablets. I don't need therapy.
Yeah.
So I wasn't in the open mindset at the time, shall we say?
Okay.
And I just thought, it isn't for me. But I went there anyway, if that makes sense, to appease sort of the family relationship thing going on at the time. So I think it's most probably one of them. You've got to be open to it.
Which you weren't.
Which I wasn't to begin with.
Yeah.
And understand that therapy is there to help you, but you've got to talk. And I don't think I was talking honestly in them sessions.
I think
that's another thing. The therapist isn't going to be able to help you if you're not talking honestly.
That's true. With any kind of therapy, you need to be honest with yourself in order to be honest with the people sat in front of you.
Yeah. So I think therapy is a great thing now, because talking, crying, having a cup of tea is needed.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's just to sit down with a friend,
have
a catch up.
That is therapy. I guess.
Share your life.
Smaller form.
Absolutely.
And if you got that friend that you can do that with, do it, because it's good for both of you really. Because you'll feel better for helping you, and you'll feel better for getting out.
Yeah.
Works both ways in a crazy way.
So what benefits do you feel that you found sharing your mental health with those around you? I mean, I know here today
Yeah,
sharing their story.
I
But
think the biggest benefits of just, do you mean me just talking about it, or just sharing with everyone?
I'd probably say both.
I think most probably initially, like I said already, you've got to talk about what's going on in your head, otherwise nobody will know what's going on around you. So yeah, talk to anyone you can confide in, whether that be your boss, your sister, your brother, whoever it is. It helps. It massively helps. And then actually, once now where I am in a good position now, I have got the police and I'm in the police force, and I'm a police constable. On my daily job, I speak to people daily about it, and it helps in situations where I've been with a guy with a knife to his neck, saying I don't know what to do with life, I'm going to kill myself. And this is a genuine scenario that I've been in.
Yeah.
A Marine, I won't say names obviously, knife to his neck, crying his eyes out, I'm going to kill myself. And it just made me think, this was me, a year ago?
Yeah.
Or a year and a half ago. And this guy's now got me in front of him. How am I going to explain to him, I know how you feel, I sympathise with you, I can put myself in your shoes. And that's what I did. I did that. And my other colleague who was there at the time did that. We're both ex-military, funny enough. So you had the right people in front of him, does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
And yes, actually that situation didn't go down as well as what it did in the end, because we got through to him, put it that way initially, and got ourselves through the door. We explained ourselves, we're ex-military, we said we've been there mate, can you open the door, chat with us? That happened, we got ourselves in the door. He didn't put the knife down after the half an hour of chatting with him, and he did get tasered. But I will say that I don't think he was going to do anything with that knife in the end.
Tough love.
It was a bit of tough love, because we was worried what he could do with that knife. It was to his neck.
Yeah.
He was making them threats, so we had to act positively with reasonable force. Which my mate did taser him. I then pinned the guy, took the knife out of his hand, and it all came to him getting actually set at 136. We call it. This is a mental health act. Yeah. And the best thing about this story is that he rang me back 3 months later, maybe 4 months later, asking for the kit that I packed up in that flat when it all simmered down. Yeah. And I put it into storage, and he said, "Thank you for that day, because it has helped me. I've been able to speak to therapists, from the safeguarding forms we filled up. I've been able to chat, get rehoused up in Manchester, I think, or Birmingham, I can't remember where it was. Yeah. I am now on the ladder to getting better." So he was at that point of boiling point when he had that knife to his neck, and we've then intervened, and we've done what we've done, and he's doing exactly what we're doing right now. Yeah. He was...
Sounds like a familiar story.
Very familiar story. So I do always look back at that scenario, and I think, wow, that's how I was, and I was able to use my experience through talking and chatting about it to help get my foot in the door with him, and it really did help that day, and it's helped again with other situations I've had that were suicidal members of the public that I've again talked them down, from what they're going to do.
Amazing.
It does really help, really help. And if it wasn't for the knock-on effect of you and all my other friends that have helped me through this, I wouldn't be able to give that experience in the police.
Fantastic.
So talk. It works. Not campaigning for talk works or anyone else, but talk does work.
It does. Talking therapy. Okay, well, really appreciate you coming in and sharing your story with everybody. Yeah. Always good to see you. So keep those phone calls coming in. Let us know how you're getting on. Yeah. For everyone else, please let us know in the comments if you have similar experiences of what Liam has shared today, or even if your experience is different. Please let us know in the comments.
Thank you.
Again, thank you, Liam, for joining us.
No, thank you, and it's been an honour coming in. Thank you for having me here. Thank you to everyone listening. I just hope somebody gets something from it. And like I say, talk works. Get it out there.
Absolutely.
And be happy, right? Every day could be your last. And let's live in the moment. That's what I've been trying to aspire to do now.
Fantastic.
thanks to people like yourself.
And the work that you do is invaluable as well, by the sense of things.
Yeah, and just finishing up on what we've said, and before we go, is that if you've got a goal in life to do something, isn't it? Just go for it and get that identity, and I think that's the main fun thing that I've got back. Does that make sense from the police?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've had the identity, purpose again.
Yeah.
It's like self-healing therapy. I can see you. It's your purpose. It's your identity. You love it.
Absolutely.
And I think once you find that purpose and identity again, when you leave the military, you'll come back right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's just finding it under them many rocks. Is the issue, and that's what your brain is trying to process. Who am I? What am I? What am I doing? And again, obviously, there's that poem about me. What to do?
Absolutely.
I can sing, I can dance, I can cut down trees. I can make honey from the bees, right? But you can do all these things, but which is your purpose and which is your identity is the main thing. And when the military is taken away from you, you think, I haven't got anything else.
Yeah.
I haven't got an identity or purpose. But well, you have, because that isn't you. Not necessarily. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
You are the military at the time, and you stand there, clean boots, uniform. But that's been institutionalized. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying
no,
that.
not at all.
But that is who you are at the time.
Yeah.
But you just don't notice your person in. Who are you? Who do you want to be? Do you want to be an actor? Do you want to be a singer? Do you want to be a poet? Do you want to be a therapist? This, that. You gotta ask yourself all these questions. And I'm not saying run off to New York and become an actor and leave your family behind with 2 kids.
Why not?
Well, yeah, why not? If you can do it and if you can facilitate it, do it. But
absolutely.
What I'm saying is just find that purpose, and everything else will come into place. Your identity. You'll feel happier. You're doing something you love every day, and that's what I do. I do enjoy and love what I do as a police officer. Maybe not some of the processes, but enjoy your job, and it won't feel so much like a job, does it?
No.
And you get that identity and purpose back.
With that, we'll leave the audience with these 2 questions that I actually ask clients in the room.
Yeah.
And that is, who am I? And what do I want?
Exactly. Cheers, Tony.